Imagine for a moment that you could sit down with the director of income strategies at AllianceBernstein's, and that fellow is also the world champion in poker. Fascinating conversation. This week on Jewish Grit. We're here today with Gershon Distenfeld, Director of Income Strategies, World Series poker champion. Is that true?
I won a prestigious tournament, one of the big tournaments back in 2021. Also made the final table of what's known as the main event in 2020.
Wow, that's impressive. I don't think I've interviewed anyone that can do anything with poker. I've interviewed a lot of successful people, but not in that realm. I want you to think back on the last 2 decades of your career. And I want you to think about a moment where you had to gather a lot of Jewish grit, inner strength, and what that moment was and how you got out of it.
I'm a frequent guest on CNBC and Bloomberg TV, and I was on Bloomberg TV 2 weeks after October 7th. You know, it was, if people remember, it was the morning, it was a couple weeks after where the media was reporting that Israel blew up a hospital, which was total fabrication. Of course. And the host of the program, who I know very, very well, he was basically playing the both sides thing and on the news in the morning, which I understand why. I messaged him. I said, you and I both know the real story here. There's no way that Israel's at fault here. And he wrote back to me, I know, whatever. Anyway, then he literally calls me. He's on live during a break. He calls me and says, okay, I just want to make sure your head is in the game. And we're going to talk about investments today. We're not going to talk about Israel. I said, I'm good. But, the overwhelming need to want to say something in that moment, which I didn't address it. It's not really my place.
That's a powerful moment because I think that a lot of us, after October 7th, like I know my team at work, we had a hard time just working. We just couldn't. And people, I noticed like a few times, just like people were crying, like, in the middle of the day, someone was just crying. Like, so yeah, I think the Jewish people took us a lot of grit. Gershon, tell us a little bit about the last 20 years of your career. You're in the world of finance, I'm assuming. Are you with the same company for?
Yeah, I've been with the same company for over 27 years.
Wow.
So
that's original.
Well, I started at Sanford Bernstein. So AllianceBernstein is a combination of two companies. Alliance Capital bought Sanford Bernstein in the year 2000. I started at Bernstein. People might know the name Zalman Bernstein, sure, who was a big philanthropist and a very interesting, larger-than-life type character. And I've been there for 27 plus years.
How did you guys cope with some of the very serious challenges in the markets, whether it was the crashes or the dips or the struggles? Yeah, well,
our job is to be steady in the face of that. It's hard, emotional. We know that most markets, if you're investing sanely, return, well above average inflation. Above inflation returns over time, and we have to deliver that for our clients over the long term. And, the blips tend to be more opportunities than they are. But at the same time, when they happen, right, nobody wanted to invest in the middle of the global financial crisis, right, or the European debt crisis 2011 or during COVID. Those are very scary times. But, right now, in my view, it's actually a little bit harder where most things in the market are fairly to overvalued. It's hard to find investments that over the long run will deliver the same kinds of returns that investors have gotten used to over the past 3 decades.
What percentage of your company is Jewish?
It was probably larger a few years ago. We're based in New York. We have offices in 30 different countries around the world, 20 different cities in the United States. But we had most of our employees in New York. 6 years ago, we moved a large portion of our people to Nashville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine that there aren't a lot of Jews in that population. Well, there are some. It's probably somewhere in the 5 to 10% range. Since October 7th, I think the Jewish, doesn't matter observant or not observant. We have called Jewish Days of Understanding. We have Zooms that are led by people and just there are definitely some people I didn't even know were Jewish that have appeared on these things. So there's been more of a connectivity, I think, since then.
Take us into the world of poker. How does a guy who's making sound financial investments for people get into a world of, risk?
Yeah, well, I deal in risk. So look, the poker thing is, first of all, I want to be very clear. I'm not in favor of gambling in general. I discourage it. I tell people not to go into it. And for most people, poker is actually not appropriate. I don't play poker all the time. I play 1 week a year, literally, in Las Vegas. I viewed it as a challenge. It has a lot of similarities to investing, dealing with incomplete information and other things. And I'd watched some on TV growing up and stuff, and always wanted to win one of these, a World Series of Poker bracelet. There are only about 2,000 of them that have ever been awarded.
Okay.
It was incredibly unlikely to win it, but it's something that's possible. I've done a lot of things in my career at work that people said couldn't be done or impossible. That motivates me. Mm-hmm. So I started a school in Teaneck, New Jersey that people said couldn't be done, and I did it. There's a fine line between impossible and improbable, right? Like impossible, I say, is I could hit golf balls all day long. I'm not going to be on the PGA Tour. If I played, LeBron James 1,000 times 1-on-1 in basketball, he beats me all 1,000 times. I never win. So poker is the kind of activity where there's a lot of skill involved, but there's also a lot of randomness involved in the short run. So am I as good as the top professional players in the world? Not even close. But I can compete with them and have a chance to win. And so I had two successes. The first was actually during COVID, which what's known as the main event, which is the World Championship of Poker, was played mostly online until the final table in Vegas, which I made. And I decided at the time, I'm not even sure exactly how it happened, that I wanted to make as big a kiddush Hashem as possible while doing this. Sanctification of Hashem's name, meaning giving Jews a good name. I would say more than anything. But it's also just in line with my values. I said, look, I'm coming full circle now. I said I don't believe in gambling, so why do I do this? For me, it's not gambling. For me, it was entertainment. I do very, very well. I'm fortunate enough to be able to give a lot of charity. So for me, this was a challenge. I expected to go into it losing X amount of money. I spend whatever it is a year on it. It's like entertainment for me. It wasn't going to change my life losing the money. So since I wasn't doing it for the money, I said, you know what? Why don't I just give anything I make, if I'm lucky enough to make money, only about 5% of poker players make money, I will give it all to charity. And maybe that's why God was on my side. But I finished 7th in that World Championship event in 2020. But the next year I came back and played in another event with 800 people that I won this at. And
how much did you win?
And that one was $204,000. Yes, I donated all of it to charity. And look, my wife and I have been blessed. We have financial means. We thankfully are able to give a lot of charity to start with. So I didn't need the money.
Can you take us back a little bit to your professional career? Where was your first job and how did you get it?
My first job was at Lehman Brothers, and I got it through YU. I didn't really put a lot of time into a job search or anything, and it was a back office type job. It was very boring. I wasn't into it. So I knew soon afterwards I just wasn't for me. And then I knew someone who knew someone who knew someone that had an in at Bernstein, and they hired me. Great story. I think it's a great story. The guy who hired me, I was 22-year-old, right? The interviewer goes to me, okay, so I'll be honest with you. I like you very much, but I have you and I have one other candidate. So other candidate's been doing this exact job for 20 years. You have been doing it for 0 years. You're barely out of school. Why in the world should I hire you? So without batting an eyelash, I said, because I'm much cheaper than him. He laughed. He gave me the job. And the best part of the story was he knocks on my door like 4 or 5 months into the job and says, remember the conversation we had about I could have hired someone else? He goes, I made the right decision.
Entry level, I'm assuming?
Entry level, very entry level, yeah.
And then how do you slowly but surely climb the ranks?
You always need a little bit of mazel, a little bit of luck in your career. You climb ranks when something happens. Usually something happens means there's some turmoil, someone leaves. And every opportunity I've gotten was really just something happened. So, I didn't really start on the investing side initially. I got my first chance in early 2000. But what really made it was Alliance bought Bernstein, and that team liked me, so they just took me on the team. So that was the first break I got. Then, look, I did some interesting things. I thought outside the box, and I've always kind of pushed the envelope in my career. And then when there was, the head of that business left to go take another opportunity in 2006, I, at the ripe old age of 31, was put in charge of the business, which is very unusual. So, but there was some troubles in the business, but I turned around our performance. We raised a lot of money, and I did that for a number of years. And then I took a larger responsibility. But then the head of fixed income at Alliance Bernstein left in 2018, and I was given the co-head job of fixed income, which is we manage about $300 billion in assets of the firm's $800 billion.
It's a nice chunk of change.
So it was a nice job. I did that for 6 years, and then more recently, the past couple of years, I've kind of just taken a step back from that and just went back to managing a pool of the money, about 60 billion of it, and just not having to deal with some of the headaches you have running the entire business. But yeah, I've had a very fortunate career. I've had people come after me. I could have left to go to many other places, but the company has been very, very good to me. I've been loyal to the company. It's a very employee-friendly type place. It was good. It was no problem being a Jew there, no problem being an observant Jew there. So I've been happy to have spent my entire career there. I suspect, you never know, but I suspect I will end my career there as well.
I'm assuming that is part of your responsibilities in the company you hire and fire. Is that correct?
Yes.
I know many of our students and our viewers are people who are just getting their first job, and they're trying to position themselves to be marketable, market themselves. What are some things that you look for when you're trying to hire fresh talent, when you're sitting at the table and got someone across from you? What are you looking for?
Yeah, look, I think so many of the hard skills have become commoditized over time. We mostly talk to very smart people that are good at math, people that are good at reasoning. We're looking for the intangibles. We're looking for those people that are just intellectually curious, think outside the box, embrace technology. One of my, a lot longer topic, one of my pet peeves is how people think AI is going to replace everything. It's been happening since the Industrial Revolution. Technology has always replaced people, and people have moved on to bigger and better things, and that's going to happen here too. So, what I often say to young people at the company is a measure of your success is going to be, are you leaving the job that you have right now when you take the next job in a better place than it was when it started? Did you improve upon it in some way? Did you make it more efficient? Did you make it more profitable? Whatever it may be. So I think a lot of the softer skills, the being able to communicate well, being personable, being someone we think we could put in front of clients, just coming and saying, I have a high GPA at a good school and I majored in economics and I'm really, really smart. That's like kind of baseline these days. You need something to have a little something extra.
What do you wish you knew when you were first starting your career, your married life, raising children that you know now?
I wish I fully appreciated that my kids literally watch every little thing that I do. It's so true what they say that, the best way to educate your kids is not through lecturing them, it's through them observing your actions. So I guess I didn't fully appreciate it. Also, this is a common thing, realize that my parents were right about a lot of things, and the same thing my kids think that I'm wrong about, I'm really right about now.
Talk to us a little bit about your daily schedule.
So when I worked in New York, I got into the office very early. I used to go to 6:15 morning prayers on the Upper West Side. I drove in from New Jersey, left my house at like 5:50. I got to the office around 7. And usually would stay till between 5:30 and 6:30. So that's when I wasn't traveling. Now I have a little bit different schedule. I moved to Florida and I commute to Nashville, where I'm there Monday to Thursday most weeks. So there's a little bit different. There I'm in the office very early too, because we work New York hours. So there I'm in the office before 7 a.m. local time, which is before 8 a.m. New York time. What do I find time for? Find time for various community projects. Believe it or not, I don't play any poker, like I said. I'm an avid backgammon player. I'm a kind of obsessive. I play a lot online. I've gone to tournaments. That's not the prestige that poker has. There's no gold bracelet for winning a tournament.
For many people, their definition of success as their career changes, as their family situation changes. I'm curious in your life, you look back over the last 20-some years in your career and your family, has your definition of success changed? And if yes, how has it changed? And if not, what is your definition of success?
Success when I was younger meant making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Success now, I thankfully, again, I've been blessed. I have all the money I need. Success is more what's the meaning in my life? What am I giving back? What am I doing with the fact that God blessed me with so much material ability and the ability to use my time also? What am I doing with that time? Trying to pass down to my kids. Look, my kids could have done many different things in the summers, and for the most part, they've volunteered. They've gone on volunteer programs in Israel and elsewhere. The word for love in Hebrew is ahava. And ahava, the root is hav, to give. You get more satisfaction and you ultimately love something more by giving more to them. I'll tell you, success in my career, believe it or not, is not about making the extra dollar anymore. The thing I get the most joy out of is seeing people rise to the occasion, people that I've either hired or mentored that do great things within the company. That gives more satisfaction than anything. And, when it comes to a legacy, of just from a career perspective. I want people to, hopefully people remember me fondly, but they were impacted by me, and they continue to do great things long after I'm gone.
What makes you most proud of being a Jew?
I think the fact that you can go anywhere in the world and have a connection with a person.
If you had an audience of our entire constituency, 70 to 80,000 students and young professionals, and they're all in one massive theater, MetLife Stadium, and you could tell them one thing, what would you tell them?
One, that your integrity is everything. And related to that, everyone is watching you. If you are a Jew, people, rightly or wrongly, are going to associate your actions either positively or negatively with Judaism and the Jewish people. So there's a spotlight on everyone. So always carry yourself with integrity and always strive to put the Jewish people, by your actions, in the best light possible.
Fantastic. I think, from my perspective, this was a great investment of time, and I hope you feel that way as well. Thank you so much. Wishing you continued hatzlacha and success in all of your very beautiful pursuits.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to Jewish Grit, an Olami Mentorship podcast. At Olami Mentorship, we believe that everyone needs a mentor. What better way is there to tap into your personal and professional potential than with a Jewish mentor at your side? Learn more at olami.org/mentorship. Don't forget to keep listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.